request everyone to kindly keep your phones on silent mode, please. Good morning, everyone. A very warm welcome to all of you. I request Dr. T.M. Thomas Isaac, Professor Debashish Chatterjee, Dr. Yashwant Dongre, Mr. Balasubramaniam Iyer, and Professor Anandakuttan B. Unithan to kindly come on stage and occupy the seats.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Anita, your Master of Ceremony for this program, and this is my co-anchor, Sanchari. And on behalf of the International Cooperative Alliance, in association with the Indian Institute of Management, Kozhikode, and Uralingal Labour Contract Cooperative Society, ULCCS Limited, I extend a very warm and hearty welcome to each and every person gathered over here today. Welcome to the 18th ICA Asia Pacific Research Conference. Let us start our conference, the inaugural ceremony for conference, with a nice round of applause, everyone. Yes. Let us have the right energy and the right spirit while we start this conference, because it is a very momentous occasion for all of us over here, because it is the very first time that the ICA Asia Pacific Research Conference is happening in South India, and that too in Kerala and Kozhikode, and it becomes even more special, even more significant, because we have delegates not only from Kozhikode, not only from Kerala, not only from India, but from all across the world. So a very warm welcome to our national and international delegates, to the city of literature, to the city of spices, to the beautiful city of Kozhikode. I hope you will get some time in the coming days to explore this beautiful city as well. So in the next coming 3 days, we will be exploring the role of cooperatives in the new industrial revolution. Yesterday, we had a whole day conference at UL Cyber Park, which is part of the IT division of ULCCS Limited. We had a very interesting and engaging panel discussion and parallel sessions. So today onwards, we will be exploring more the role of corporates in the new industrial revolution. Over to Sanchari.
Thank you, Anita. It is my great honor to welcome all of you to the 18th ICA Asia Pacific Research Conference, organized by the Indian Institute of Management, Kozhikode, International Cooperative Alliance, and Uralingal Labour Contract Society is scheduled here at IIM Kozhikode. We are delighted to have attendees from all across the world. Today's conference marks a significant moment where we bring together innovative minds and leading experts to share insights, collaborate, and foster the development of groundbreaking research. We have a rich program planned with keynote addresses, presentations, and thought-provoking discussions that promise to inspire and inform. Let us begin the program with the lighting of the lamp, which is customary to start any inaugural ceremony at IIM Kozhikode. Now, may I invite the dignitaries for the lighting of the lamp.
Yes, let us light the ceremonial lamp and mark the beginning to the 18th ICA Asia Pacific Research Conference. being held at IIM Kozhikode in association with ULCC Calicut. Yes, we have Professor Thomas Isaac doing the honors of lighting the ceremonial lamp and marking the beginning to this conference. And here is the chair of the ICA-AP committee, Dr. Yashwantra Dhongre, doing the honors, Professor B. Anandkutan doing the honors, and of course the director of IIMK, Dr. Debashis Chatterjee, Professor Debashis Chatterjee.
All are requested to kindly rise for the invocation.
May we have the music for the invocation, please? Otherwise, we'll have a silent prayer and have our seats. Thank you so much. I think that was worth the wait. It was a very beautiful and melodious music that we were standing to. Now, ladies and gentlemen, it is time for the welcome address, and doing the honors of welcoming this august gathering is the chair of the ICA Asia Pacific Committee on Cooperative Research, Dr. Yashwantra Dhongre, and academician par excellence. Professor Dhongre has over 28 years of research experience. He has served as the Professor of Commerce and the Director of Planning, Monitoring and Evaluation Board at the University of Mysore. He is also a consultant to the High-Powered Committee on Cooperatives set up by the Ministry of Agriculture, Government of India. He also serves as the Vice Chancellor of Chanakya University, Bangalore. Requesting Dr. Dhongre to deliver the welcome address.
Thank you, and very good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I take this opportunity to welcome all of you to the 18th conference of the Asia Pacific Cooperative Research Committee. I also take this opportunity to congratulate the ULCCS on its centenary, and of course I thank them for collaborating with the committee in hosting this conference. It's a pleasure for me to come back to IIMK. I was here 6 years ago, I think 2018, when we had the ILO tie-up conference here, and I'm very happy that the IIMK team has put up a lot of effort in putting this conference in place, and my special thanks to that team before I begin with the formal welcome. Let me also spend just a couple of minutes about the ICA Asia Pacific Cooperative Research Committee. Under International Cooperative Alliance, there are various regional offices. Of course, more about this, Mr. Balu Iyer would be sharing. And the Asia Pacific Regional Office works from Delhi. And under the Asia Pacific Division, there are different committees which will address various issues related to cooperatives. There are a separate committee on women, separate committee on youth, and the research committee is one such committee. This committee has been active in the last 2 decades and more. We are putting up annual conferences in different countries in Asia Pacific to bring together researchers from different regions, deliberate on cooperatives. We also keep doing a lot of bi-monthly activities and webinars. We try to create network of researchers, encourage people to publish. So there's a whole series of activities under the committee that is taking place. We have in this committee 2 categories of members. There's a core members of the committee who are all nominated by the members of the ICA in the region. There are also researchers who are associate members. So we currently have more than 25 members and about 50 odd associate members. I also take this opportunity to encourage all of you who are researchers in this field to get enrolled as associate members to the committee. Incidentally, we do annual conferences, and also we do a conference along with the ICA AP Regional Assembly that takes place biannually, and next year this is going to happen in Sri Lanka. So I hope that there is going to be a conference in Sri Lanka and most of you will be able to participate in that. I'm extremely honored to welcome today a very distinguished guest to begin this particular conference. We have with us Thomas Isaac. I don't know whether to call him professor or former minister, but I think he always remains an academic for me, and I have heard him many times earlier also. And he's going to deliver the keynote. Many of you were, anyway, you had a brief yesterday evening opportunity to hear him. So I extend a very warm welcome to Professor Thomas Isaac for this particular conference. Welcome to you. Professor Debashish Chatterjee, Director of IIM Kozhikode, is with us. He was to join us yesterday evening. He couldn't make it, but today he is here in his home ground. I'm very happy that the leader of the institute is with us here. Would also be sharing a few of his thoughts today. A very warm welcome to you on behalf of the committee. Dr. Balu Iyer, Dr. Balasubramaniam Iyer, we all call him Balu Iyer, is the Regional Director of ICA Asia Pacific. His role, I think, in the activities of all the committees are extremely important, and he has a special love for the research activities, so he supports us a lot. He writes, and you can see his articles in some of our books as well. He is also helping us in our current project of working on a book. So he goes beyond being an administrator. So I'm very happy that Balu could be with us today, and he will also be speaking to you. Welcome, Balu. We have Professor Anand Kuttan with us now. Professor Anand Kuttan, of course, I don't have to introduce to any of you, but I'm very happy that he sort of led this collaboration, and he has been regularly. We were meeting online every week and discussing things. So he coordinated with his team and put up a lot of people from IIM to work with us, and he is with us. And very warm welcome, Anand Kuttan. So I hope we are going to have a great 3 days. In the next 3 days, we are going to have more than 80 paper presentations, apart from 3 panel sessions, which we call as the industry panels. I should also tell you that this is a special word of recognition and congratulations to IMK. We received more than 230 abstracts for this conference, and this is the highest so far for our Asia Pacific conference. But there was a thorough review of these abstracts, and we accepted about 110 abstracts after blind review and all that. And around 80 people are going to be physically present and making presentations today. Some of them, for some reason, were not able to participate. We have over 50 international delegates in this participation today. So I thank all of you for supporting this, and I once again extend a very warm welcome to all of you. I hope you will enjoy the next 3 days. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Yashwanta Dhongre. Very heartening to know that, 230 abstracts were submitted for this ICA Asia Pacific Research Conference, which is the highest till now. So that's very interesting news indeed, and interesting to know about the structure and working process of ICA as well. And as Dr. Dhongre has said that, the academicians over here can become research scholars in ICA as a part of the organization. Thank you so much, Dr. Dhongre, for welcoming the delegates on the dais and off the dais as well. Now, ladies and gentlemen, it is time for the opening remarks, and that is going to be delivered by the Regional Director of ICA Asia Pacific, Dr. Balasubramanian Iyer, or as Dr. Dhongre was calling him, Dr. Balu Iyer. Dr. Balu brings strong management and operational credentials in strategic planning, budgeting, performance assessment, compliance, and audit to the job. His project experience across Asia extends in the areas of cooperatives, business associations, water, food security, women's empowerment, and economic development. Requesting Dr. Balu Iyer to deliver the opening remarks.
Thank you for those words, and thank you, Professor Dhongre, for those generous remarks. And good morning, everyone. It's a pleasure to see so many familiar faces and a lot of new faces, and I do hope that we'll have the opportunity to interact with each other and to get to know other better. Professor Debashish Chardi, thank you so much for hosting us at your lovely campus. I think it's really, as you walk into the campus and you see, I think your tagline is taking India's thought globally, and you can see that at the different signboards, the different statues, and the whole ambience. So thank you for hosting us. As Professor Dhongre mentioned, the International Cooperative Alliance is the global body which represents cooperatives worldwide. We are headquartered in Brussels, and we have 4 regional offices, and the ICAP Asia office is based in New Delhi. The ICA is a member-based organization, so we have 300 plus organizations from across 110 countries who are part of the ICA. And in the Asia Pacific region, we have 110 members from 29 countries. Just to give you all some numbers, the ICA was founded in 1895. So we are over 130 years old. Together with our 300 members, we represent close to 1 billion people worldwide. That would make 12% of humanity as part of cooperatives. We are also present, like I said, in 110 countries. So we nearly cover nearly 80 to 85% of countries in the world. Every year, the ICA comes out with the World Cooperative Monitor, which ranks the top 300 cooperatives in the world. And just these 300 cooperatives together have an annual turnover of around 2.1 trillion US dollars, which would make it the 6th or 7th largest economy in the world. So cooperatives have a long history, we have the presence, and we have the economic clout. So it's something which we all can be proud of. And we are very proud to be here in Kozhikode the home of the Oralungal Labour Contract Cooperative Society. And they are the only labor cooperative society from the Asia Pacific region who are on the top 300 cooperative in the world. So they deserve a round of applause. Yesterday we were at the Cyber Park, which is again, I don't know how many of you all have seen that, but if you all have not, I would definitely encourage you all to visit that. And it's a testament to Oralungal's 100 years existence. Very few cooperatives reach that stage. Oralungal has not only reached that stage, but it thrives and it has a vision to take it forward to the next 100 years. So yesterday we heard about their history, their very humble beginnings, their growth, which has been incredible, their innovation, which has seen them through ups and downs over the years, and the vision of their leaders to see, not look at themselves just as in the road and construction business, but going beyond that, diversifying and growing over the years. So we all can take inspiration from the work that ULCCS does and learn. And this is what we are here for, to see how we can hear from each other and learn from each other. And we also wanted to show that cooperatives can also look ahead. And that's the reason why this conference, we've themed it Cooperatives in the Next Industrial Revolution. And when we look at where Oralungal today is, it's because it's built itself as a resilient organization. It has diversified into different businesses. It has harnessed technology for empowerment of its members and people. It has fostered inclusive growth with social justice. And it has done all this through a process of inter-cooperation. So these are some of the things that we are going to be touching upon. So like Professor Dongre mentioned, we had over 230 papers, of which 80 have been accepted. So again, these have been broken into different sessions where we'll touch upon each of these topics. We are also extremely happy that we will be having the COP pitch competition over the next 2 days. Even here, we had over 200 plus teams which registered to take part, and we had to unfortunately just choose 50. We would have allowed to have all the 250 here, but I think we have close to 50 teams who are here who will be presenting their ideas in terms of what is the idea that they have in terms of what is the need of the community, how can cooperatives fulfill that role, and within that, using technology, using different means to see how cooperatives can benefit. So we are definitely looking forward to your ideas, to see what kind of ideas you all have and how we can not only keep it as an idea, but how do we also support it, how do we incubate it. So that's something which we are looking forward to it. And the audience here, the two groups who are here today, researchers and young people, are going to determine the future of cooperatives. Because without young people, there is no future. And without research, there is no innovation, there is no learning. So you all are the most important constituents for the ICA and for the growth of cooperatives. So I'm looking forward to the next 3 days to hear from the research conference. We have the industry panels, which is looking at agriculture. We are looking at technology and seeing how these can be further, what we can learn further from national and international experiences. And so I would encourage you all to take part actively, to learn, hear from each other, learn from each other, and see how we can work toward the development of cooperative. Again, I'd like to thank Mr. Rameshan Paleri, chairperson of ULCCS, and the entire ULCCS team for bringing us together here on part of the ICA. We are very proud to have you all as our members, and we are looking forward to working further with you all. A special thanks to Professor Anandakuttan from IIM Kozhikode and his entire team. I think you all have done a wonderful job in bringing us here together. And of course to Professor Dongre, Professor Sitzel and the research committee for all the work that you all have done to make sure that this is a very successful conference. This conference would not have its full weight without the researchers, the young students from different institutes who are here today, and of course the volunteers. Thank you all for being here, and I look forward to interacting with you all. And finally, a big thank you to my team, Ganesh, Naveen, and Shri, for all the work you all have done to bring us here today. So thank you very much, and thank you for joining us at the conference.
Thank you so much, Mr. Balasubramaniam Iyer. It is my distinct pleasure to introduce Professor Debashish Chatterjee, Director of IIM Kozhikode, who will deliver the presidential address. Professor Debashish Chatterjee has taught leadership classes at Harvard University, at the Indian Institutes of Management of Calcutta, Lucknow, and Kozhikode for nearly 3 decades. The longest-serving director of a first-generation IIM, he has been reappointed to head IIM Kozhikode for a third 5-year term in June 2023. Professor Chatterjee has been awarded the prestigious Fulbright Fellowship twice for pre-doctoral and postdoctoral work at Harvard University. A prolific author, he has published fiction and non-fiction, including Leading Consciously, Krishna, The Seventh Sense, and Timeless Leadership, which have been translated into several national and international languages. His latest book, Leadership Chronicles, published by Penguin Books, is a tribute to his pioneering efforts towards globalizing Indian thought. He has taught the art and practice of leadership to more than 100,000 managers globally and Fortune 500 corporations and over 50,000 school leaders. Professor Chatterjee is credited with transforming a small-town B-school IIM Kozhikode into an institution of global recognition that is now counted amongst the top 3 IIMs in India and the top 75 management schools worldwide according to the prestigious Financial Times rankings. In a nutshell, Professor Chatterjee is an exemplary individual known for his deep empathy and assertive leadership. He is also a prolific writer, an exceptional orator, and a genuine mentor. Now may I invite Professor Debashish Chatterjee for the presidential address.
Good morning and welcome to God's own campus. God does the work and I pretend to interfere. This is by no means a presidential address because I'm just a trustee of the work that generations of directors and faculty and students and scholars and visitors like yourselves have contributed to making this institute. Let's call this a residential address because I am resident on this campus and I'm going to tell you something about it. Dr. Thomas Isaac, eminent economics, minister, professor, somebody who wears many hats, needs no introduction. Dr. Ashwantha Dongre, Chair ICAC of Pacific, Mr. Balasubramaniam Iyer, Director ICA, and Mr. Anandunithan, the Master of Ceremonies, the person who brought us all together, my colleague Professor Saji Gopinath, Vice Chancellor, sitting here in the audience, and all of you from across the seas who have decided to come to India to sample what we look like, and all the students, scholars, researchers, persons from the media, my colleagues in the administration, and everybody whose name I've missed out. Forgive me for that. Many years ago, I heard the chairman of Tata Steel, J.J. Irani, talking about the dilemma in the Tata empire. That's one industrial house in India that's closest to the cooperative movement, so you might want to hear what he has to say. He said the businesses of the future are not going to be certified by a government, they're going to be certified by a community. Because the governments, we cannot do anything unless the community certifies, because governments are built on the strength of the energy of communities and people who vote them. And so I began to remember something that I heard from a movement that was taking shape in America in the 20s, in the first half of 2000s. They called it conscious capitalism. which meant that capitalism was unconscious for a long time. And it was waking up to something, the damage that it did in the course of capital formation, leaving out, outsourcing the social and environmental cost of running a business, leaving it out in the hands of nobody. And so Ray Anderson, the person who actually created the largest carpet making corporation in the world, and it was a Fortune 500 company, at the fag end of his career, had a mid-course correction. He said, the kind of work I'm doing now, digging up the earth, spoiling the earth for the benefit of the corporation, in 50 years' time, I would be in jail if they knew what I was doing to make the money that I'm making. What is a late realization? But we see that we are on the cusp of something very, very dangerous, on the brink of extinction, literally. And what has caused it? And once you recognize that, then you realize that this unbridled march of capitalism, fueled largely by greed of individual profit and celebration of those individuals, has done enough damage to the ecosystem. So, what is the next industrial revolution that you're talking about? It's going to be all about. It is going to be about technology. I don't think it is going to be about technology. I think it is about how we use technology. It will be about a cognitive revolution, where we begin to see and cognize for the first time that this human-centered world that has been largely exploitative, extractive rather than based on the principle of trusteeship, is not sustainable anymore. It's not tenable anymore. And it is possible that we might look at the next industrial revolution as a revolution that will sensitize us, and technology will help us in the process to figure out the amount of damage we have done, because right now it's all under the wraps. I'm going to be brief in telling us, in terms of IIM Kozhikode's vision of globalizing Indian thought. We are not saying that Indian thought is of one kind. We are not saying Indian thought is based on only some ancient traditions. Indian thought is a work in progress, where we have to manage a population of 1.4 billion with the kind of resource base that we have. I recall my first visit to America in the city of Boston, very eclectic audience at the Harvard Kennedy School. I had to say something like this. I said, look, if you unleash the population of Calcutta and Howrah, which are twin cities, in Boston and Cambridge, which are also twin cities, with the same kind of population unleashed in these two cities, and with the same resource base that Calcutta has, how do you propose to manage your population? And when they asked what the population size was, and their eyes started rolling, now you can see that we have to recognize that we are leaving out a large number of people in the world. So when I have an opportunity to address people as to how to have their lunch and dinner, I said, please don't take more food than you can eat, because 200 million Indians are still going hungry. They don't need to go hungry, because we have enough food for everybody as of now, but they still are. So which means that there must be a maladjusted form. And so we said our vision of Indian thought will be based on a framework of values, and those three values is what I'm going to talk about briefly. First of them is a value called satyam, or authenticity. What is authenticity? We have to figure out the hidden cost, the invisible cost that enterprises are not talking about at all when they're looking at healthy balance sheets that are creating sick companies and communities. They're not talking about those costs. Can we unravel those costs through our research, through our deliberations? And so authenticity means that we are coming closer to the reality of a reality check as to what we are doing, not just in triple bottom lines, but in terms of the mental health of people who are retrenched, who are thrown away, and technology that comes in place, displacing a lot of people in ways that we cannot even figure out unless we go deep and dig up, and researchers sitting here might want to look at those hidden costs. So Satyam means that we are hoping that this institution and its apparatus, research and scholastic apparatus, will begin to tell the truth about what it is. So we have a climate lab here. headed by one of my colleagues, Professor Deepak Dayanidhi, and he proposes to have every district of India mapped in terms of climate conditions. We have one on our campus. He's saying, what are those districts in India that have been deprived of the kind of climatic condition that will make it possible for people to live there? And what are the causes of those? So we are trying to map that, and we are trying to make that story available to the larger world. Then we have this whole issue of Nityam, which is sustainability. How do we sustain a campus of this kind on a hilltop? So he said not a single tree can be cut without the explicit permission that has 3 layers of permission. So not a tree can be cut. Just like not a person can be retrenched without due deliberation, not a tree can be cut. There's no parking place available for additional cars. I have not allowed any, our board has not allowed any construction that will damage the geophysical structures of this beautiful campus. So we don't grow on the hill, we grow with the hill. And you will see its imprints everywhere. As you go around the campus, you will get a sense that this campus is designed on those principles of sustainability. And then the final thing is Purnam, or wholeness. So first is Satyam, authenticity. Second is Nityam, sustainability. The third values framework is Purnam, or wholeness. Now, how do we create a campus that has space for everybody? So we have a community in this campus called Living Rights Community. It's not about human rights. So we have a cat shelter, we have a dog shelter, no snake is killed, we just put back to their habitat. And we spend a lot of time mapping our ecosystem. So there is a body of researchers that came and looked at the number of species, flowers, flora and fauna, and make that report available to the community to know that, there is a lot more than human interaction. We are aware in this campus, I think, about the ecological disaster that we are bringing about, and hopefully we will not be part of it. And this is a guilt trip that we have all got to assuage ourselves and get rid of. And finally, I'm not going to take very long because I'm waiting for Professor Thomas Isaac to be like a professor and less like a politician, to tell us what the truth of his heart is. And I want to talk to him again going forward, hopefully. In conclusion, I recall the beautiful lines from the Rig Veda, a very ancient book of India. Bahujan hitacha, bahujan sukhacha. This is the prayer of the Rig Veda, one of the most ancient texts of the world. And All India Radio in the 1930s adopted this as their motto, as their mission. Loosely translated, this means for the welfare of many and for the happiness of the multitude, we exist. This is the new story. This is the new narrative. This is the new ethos of a corporate life. How we are going to bring this about will depend a lot more on the invisible impact that the cooperatives, the cooperative movement that is based on this philosophy of welfare of all, happiness for many. This is going to be the new story. How you're going to write it, how you're going to script it is your choice, but you have no choice but to tell that story where what is good for the larger must be good for the smaller. What is good for the whole must be good for the part. What is good for the cosmos must be good for our communities. Thank you very much for your attention, and I hope your stay is meaningful and pleasant, and you go back as happy and enlightened citizens of the world. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Professor Chatterjee, for that very inspiring and insightful address. Your words have set the perfect tone for the rest of today's event. Next, I am delighted to introduce our keynote speaker for the day, Dr. T.M. Thomas Isaac. The topic is the role of cooperatives in the next industrial revolution. Dr. Thomas Isaac is an Indian politician and economist who was the Minister for Finance and COIR of Kerala from 2006 to 2011 and 2016 to 2021. Dr. Isaac obtained his PhD from the Center of Development Studies in 1985. His PhD thesis is titled Class Struggle and Industrial Structure, a Study of Coir Weaving Industry in Kerala, 1859 to 1980. Dr. Isaac was a professor at the Center for Development Studies, Thiruvananthapuram, and has published a number of articles and books. He has authored a number of articles on economics, planning and politics, has published in leading regional, national and international periodicals, presented lectures and papers in national and international conferences and seminars. And Dr. Isaac is the author of more than 50 books, both in Malayalam and English. He represented the Mararikoram and Alappuzha constituencies in Kerala Legislative Assembly. During his tenure as a member of Kerala State Planning Board, he was in charge of the People's Planning in Kerala. May I invite Dr. T.M. Thomas Isaac for the keynote address.
Professor Debashish Chatterjee, Dr. Yashwant Dongre, Mr. Balasubramaniam, and Professor Anandakuttan, and dear friends. I have very fond memories of a similar seminar organized in the same very hall. I don't know, exact year 2018 or somewhere there. And Professor Saji Gopinath was the chief organizer of the seminar at that time. Again, with the same partnership with ICA and Uralangal. And my book that has been distributed to you was prepared for this event. I will also recommend that you, if you want, refer to a later book of mine, Kerala, Another Possible World. My brief intervention now would be based on both the books. I would like to locate this seminar not only in the context of Industry 4, but also Kerala's development strategy. Kerala is one state in India which has formally adopted the objective of transition to a knowledge economy with joining the Industry 4 revolution. Kerala traditionally has followed a strategy of development, a paradigm of development focused on redistribution. Redistribution of income through higher wages. Kerala has the highest wages in the country. Redistribution of assets through land reforms. And public provisioning of education, healthcare, and social security, which enable the average citizen in the state to have much a higher quality of life when compared to rest of India and other developing countries. This is reflected in any social indicator that you may choose, SDG index or human capital interest or human development index, any index. Now the success breeds new challenges. Now with a generation of young people who are educated and healthy, their aspiration levels rise. They are no more satisfied with the traditional jobs. They want to have quality jobs, decent jobs, that is more in consonance with their educational attainments. And such jobs are not forthcoming in Kerala. And this is the big challenge of development in Kerala. It creates a paradox. Kerala has an unemployment rate about 3 times now the national average. But at the same time, you have 3 million migrant laborers working in Kerala. That's a paradox of Kerala. So it's a very urgent task to generate such quality employment in the state. How do we do that? Now, that's where the concept of knowledge economy comes in. By adopting and diffusing the industry for technologies in the state, it should be possible to meet this challenge. Now, it would mean, one, transformation of the existing industry, agriculture and services. Two, attracting investment or promoting startups in areas of core competence of Kerala, like knowledge, the IT, biotechnology and skill-based industries and so on. For with the strategy that is being implemented consists of, and I would elaborate on it, a determined effort to overcome the infrastructure deficit in the state. You will find anywhere you go, you'll find big constructions going on. And this also includes developing say, internet highway of our own. Okay. Two, overhaul the higher education so that it produces knowledge, not just degrees, and high-level skill. Third, and this is also important, there should be no digital divide, therefore, digital literacy to everyone. And it also implies we have given highest priority for digitalization of the school system. All the classrooms have now digitalized. And that type of thing is a major achievement. And finally, government services are already major proportion of them online. To drive this process, there is a knowledge economy mission that has been constituted. Now, where does COPS come in here? What could be the role? To understand this, you have to understand, I think, a little more deeply the difference between Industry 4 and Industry 5. Now, the industrial revolutions, the different stages was identified by the typical technology. Say, 1, mechanization, 2, electrification, 3, automation, and 4, it is cyberization. The kind of energy source, 1, steam, 2, electricity, 3, atomic power, though its potential was very much overestimated, and currently the renewable energies. The logistics, transport, ship, rail, motor car, flights, spread over a century each. This division also corresponds to what used to be very fashionable in the 60s and early 70s of contractive cycles. Nobody speaks them about now. Besides the normal business cycles, you can have periods where the peaks of each normal business cycle would be higher than the other, and therefore you'll have a long period of upward swing in the global economy, and then there would be troughs. Each trough would be lower than the other, so that you'll be a long period of downward swing. And I think now we are in a phase of a downward swing. And it is in this downward swing that prompts these new technologies to come in, you see. There's a big challenge and inventions and so on, thinking anew what could be done, and then the bunch of technologies come. Now we all know, I don't need to explain the technologies of Industry 4, big data, Internet of Things, AI, cloud computing, augmented virtual reality, and so on, 3D printing. Then these are the same technologies that are there in the Industry 5. So why do you talk about Industry 5? So you look into the definition of Industry 5. Industry 5 is not in the differences in the technology, but the way humans interact with it. What normally is described as a human-centric system, you see, which points to basic fault lines in the Industry 4, which is the right through. Alienation, okay, starts with Marx's theory of alienation. When the producer, the worker, is alienated from himself, it is best described by the Charlie Chaplin's Mission Man, how human being is thrashed out of all his independent thinking and so on. And this is taken to its peak in the Industry 4, where workers are atomized. Are they joined to their platform controls and so on. Despite all the faults of the Fordism, there was something the worker could unite. The factory unites them. They come into trade unions and resist, and this breaks down. And therefore, in this context, you will find the share of wages in the national income steadily comes down all the advanced countries. And this has resulted in tremendous increase in the inequality, which at no point in the history in the past there has been such social inequality as of now. And more than that, unemployment. Because AI and so on, this tremendous increase in productivity, and therefore it is labor replacing. And there are serious ethical questions that arise regarding many technologies, particularly biotechnology. And therefore, we think it has to be more human-centric. And therefore, Industry 5 is not something as inevitable as the earlier stages, but something that we think ethically and so on to overcome these contradictions. We need an intervention. We need a stage. In such a way, Industry 4 would be the shortest of all industry revolution, hardly 3 decades. We are already on the way to 5. Therefore, we need new organization which looks for other objectives than profit maximization. The capitalist firm in economic theory is profit maximization for unities. In fact, the mainstream theory will tell you you would have multiple objectives, optimize, a result will emerge, you see. And that's the criticism against cooperatives. Cooperatives have multiple objectives. You have got profit, then you have to look into workers' welfare, this, that, social concern, and so on. Such a such a economic organization cannot be successful by definition. See. But we have reached a stage in the history where technological transformation has brought humankind to a stage where you need to reject this classical definition of economic man or woman, whatever. Economic is always man in economics. So that concept and also the firm. And what is the alternative? That alternative would have to be some sort of cooperative. I'm not saying this form as defined by ILO and so on, but a sort of a social, an enterprise which is concerned about all this area. It doesn't automatically come from the competition. Competition will drive you away from this optimal line. And therefore, you need, that's the word, cooperative step in. Therefore, I would say, cooperatives is the organization, norm for the Industry 5. I'm not for a moment suggesting now all organizations are going to be converted into cooperatives and so on. It will not be. It will be capitalism, and it will be foolhardy and utopian to think such a transformation would occur. But to have an influential segment of the economy which sets up different standards and is able to compete, that would influence. And that's what Industry 5 is about. And for activists like me, that will be shared by others, this all holds up examples of, or beacons, lighthouses of what is possible in the future. Now, in this context, what I would expect from this seminar, I'll make just few points and stop. One, what role then can the cooperatives play in this transformation of Kerala into a knowledge economy? That is a central, one important theme. Of course, the participants would be speaking about the countries, their experiences, but I am certain the organizers will be drawing the best lessons from them, what would be applicable for Kerala. Two, to achieve this objective, the co-ops themselves will have to be transformed by digitalization, by adopting Industry 4 technologies. How to speed up this process? For various reasons, generally, the co-ops have not been moving in this direction fast enough. Besides, we can have only exceptional cases of ULCCS or Mondragon or you want to say even Amul and successful cases, but others are laggards. So how do we accelerate this process? That's the second question. Third, and this is important, the cooperative principles. With this technological transformation, etc., taking place in the cooperative, how do you ensure member control, participation, ownership? You meditate, think about for a moment about the structure that is emerging in ULCCS. These questions you will understand how. ULCCS is trying to grapple it in another way, creating different layers of membership so that the subsidiary corporate units that are there, they would be given subsidiary membership and equal rights and so on and so forth. But this is an important challenge. 4, and that was the main theme, take from the yesterday's deliberations, the cooperative principle of cooperation between cooperatives. That it was identified is something very lagging, and that's very vital to ensure capital, technology, and organizational knowledge so that this process is speeded up. How to do that? And 5, this transformation in Kerala into knowledge economy is not rejection of the welfare past. We have to preserve the welfare gains the past and go forward. And therefore, there are certain social objectives which have become very, very important. I will say in this context, the elder care. The children and the very elderly both need care. Care for children is something instinctive, but care for the very elderly is not. You need a care system. Now the care system institutional in the West cannot be transported here. It's just not financially viable. So what are the community arrangement that we can have? How can technology be used in this and so on and so forth? And therefore I would say, besides the other welfare social sectors here, geriatric, it becomes very, very important, particularly in the case of Kerala. And finally, cooperatives are asked to come in a sense, to democratize the industry for, you see. So there is a big, and cooperatives are democratic institutions. So how do the cooperatives contribute to greater democratization of society? Kerala has had the great experience of democratic decentralization. We have a powerful network of local governments. How do the cooperatives engage with the local governments? Well, we haven't succeeded very much, but that would remain a big challenge. So we look forward to learn from your participants' knowledge and expertise on these key questions, which are very important for our development. I wish you, all of you, the best in your deliberations. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Isaac, for sharing such valuable insights with us, and it has truly been a pleasure to have you with us. We have a small memento for you. May I request Professor Debashish Chatterjee to kindly hand it over to him. Now I invite Professor Anandakuttan B. Unithan for the concluding remarks.
Professor Dr. T.M. Thomas Isaac, economist, former minister, politician, activist, author, influencer, organizer. Professor Debashish Chatterjee, director of IIM Kozhikode, as well as the chief evangelist of IIM Kozhikode Values, maybe our chief values officer. Dr. Dongre, Mr. Balu Iyer, my colleagues from IIM Kozhikode, all dear delegates from India and abroad. As an academic, I am a late entrant to this very fascinating subject of cooperative movement. But as a citizen of India, like many others in India, our first engagement with the cooperatives happen very early in our life when we are rather desperate, when we don't have any money. Well, banking system fails to acknowledge us as customers because we don't have any collateral to pledge. They don't have any confidence in us, and we don't have the ability to repay either. Well, usually a friend would tell us that, look, there is an organization. If you are able to have two people vouch for you, why don't you join, and they'll be able to extend a small amount of money for you. So this happens in many forms in most of the companies, government organizations. There is this employees cooperative society. there is this farmer cooperative society, there is this rural cooperative societies. Some of them may not even be formally constituted as a cooperative society, but instead as a collective. I would like to call even Kudumbasri start off as a collective, a group of people out there to help each other. Many of such organizations remain as a collective, remain as a small mutual help for each other, without having any ambitions to reconstitute themselves as a business entity. Part of the reason is that they are truly democratic. In the best traditions of democracy, whatever this group of people wants to do is driven by the ambitions, the aspirations, the limitations of its members. And they are passionately involved in their organizations, and they want a stake in deciding what their society would like to do and what a society may not like to do. There is no promoter, there is no large holding, there is no meeting which is held in remote areas, there is no proxies. So people come together and we have vociferous meetings, and sometimes people vote down your proposals to move into business or move into any other economic activity, and it's rather difficult to convince a large number of people who decides what is good for them. And their involvement is so high that there are places, particularly in Kerala, when there is an election to a cooperative society, under section 144, well, the police would prevent the gathering of a large number of people. This shows not just a political activism, but also about the enormous involvement of the members of the cooperative society to decide who will be in charge of the society for the next 5 years. So this is my first touch point with a cooperative society, also being a member of a society for so many years. But some of those societies, probably persuaded by leaders, they transition themselves from just a small collective to take care of the welfare of each other to business entities. And they form federations of societies, and they become very large, and their challenges become more of a business nature, and that's where business academics like us gets fascinated by them. And they experience a lot of challenges because they are competing with the other forms of economic organizations like companies, like partnerships, who may not have the challenges of creating consensus, who may not have the problems of clear separations of ownership and management, which many of the cooperative societies still have, who may not have the challenges of not having professional management hired to act as agents to represent the interest of their owners. So that is what many of the so-called successful societies who engage in business are faced with. And some of them do extremely well because they bring in a strategic intent. They transform their social organization skills into business organization also. And they bring in business model innovation also. Yesterday I was listening to a speech by the president of Indian Coffee House, one of the oldest cooperative movements in the country. And many of us have fond memories of it. They were saying that we would like to organize ourselves around the needs of the customer so that we don't mind delivering our products to wherever the customer is at their doorstep. We don't mind looking at the business models of Swiggy and Zomato. We don't mind taking up event management. We don't mind doing catering. We don't mind bringing together all the other services that customer requires for a specific purpose. So I also listened to another speech where one of the members of a cooperative organization which is into coir matting say, we don't need to be defined by the fiber, that is a coir. Well, our strength is not in coir, our strength is in weaving, our strength is in producing products that the market would require, and we don't mind mixing coir with other fibers including jute, and they have transformed themselves into a very profitable organization. So it's a very interesting phase to study cooperative organizations, to study the governance of cooperative organizations, how they are being transformed, to see how the owners or the members of the cooperative organizations, are they taking a back seat being passive owners, leaving the management to professionals who are hired? Do we have an agency problem there? It's interesting to study some of them going for digitization, and we have natively digital cooperative organizations getting into business. So we have collective efforts of developing software. We have collective efforts of bringing in new business to the market. So we require the traditional business management academics to study cooperative movements in order to bring their insights and apply the lens of business management in this interesting field of cooperatives. But at the same time, we would also need to have scholars in the cooperative domain who would like to look at the business from the point of view of the lens of cooperative movement. We have received a large number of papers for this conference, and I'm happy to let you know that they represent a wide variety of themes and topics. Some of them very, very innovative areas. If we continue research on that, would lead to very interesting insights which will transform not only the cooperative movement but the rest of the traditional businesses also. So we have tracks on sustainability, we have tracks on digital business, we have tracks on dairy, we have tracks on agriculture, we have special plenaries on various interesting themes. All this is possible because we find that a lot of people are getting fascinated by the changes that are happening in this field. That's why we have received a lot of papers. Of course, we have several limitations of space and the time that is available, and we had to reject many a good paper. And of course, some of them who promised to attend could not because of problems of climate. Like in Tamil Nadu, we are having a problem now. So some people from some parts of Tamil Nadu said, even though we would like to attend, it's not possible to come and attend here because the weather doesn't permit us to travel. Well, some foreign delegates requested us, is it possible that you can arrange a remote session? Well, there are challenges of visa and the travel. Well, climate is disrupting the travel also, but unfortunately we could not agree to that request because we wanted people to be here. The purpose of conference is not just to make a presentation, but to listen to the other presentations and to meet each other and be inspired by each other. It is not just networking to collect visiting cards, but to truly engage with each other and learn from each other so that we can find collaborators, we can have cross-pollination of ideas. So these were some of the restrictions that prevented us from having more papers. Despite that, there is an overwhelming response to this conference. I'm sure that in the next couple of days, we will have many interesting, insightful discussions. And I invite you to attend all the sessions as far as possible. Some of them are parallel sessions. As far as possible, try to be in one session or the other. Don't miss out on any presentation to the extent that is possible. At this point of time, I believe I'll be failing in my duty if I don't express my gratitude to all those people who helped ICA, Asia Pacific, IIM Kozhikode, and ULCCS in organizing this conference. Particularly, I want to mention the names of Dr. Dongre, Dr. Sidsal, Dr. Rajeshwari, Mr. Balu Iyer, Mr. Ganesh Gopal, Mr. Naveen, and the IIM Kozhikode team. I have Reshma from my office, Seena, Praship, and the entire research team, Mr. Mahesh, Sadanandan and Sojan from the director's office, Mr. Vikas, all of them, they put their heart and soul into it. And above all, I think I should also mention, without the support of our director, Professor Debashish Chatterjee, who trusts people, who let people come up with ideas and then run with those ideas without doing any micromanagement. There is an element of trust which all of us enjoy here, which make the risk of taking up all these programs less risky. Because any time when you do something new, there is always a fear of failure. I have that fear of failure. Will the program start in time? Will it rain? Will there be problems? Well, always there is this risk. Anything can go wrong. And the fear of failure is to some extent alleviated because your boss trusts you. I think the success of this conference is his confidence. Thank you once again to all the delegates and all those who are part of organizing this conference, all those who are presenting papers in this conference, all the experts who came here to make presentations to this conference, and the entire team of ULCC and IIM Kozhikode and ICA who helped us in organizing this. In case I have missed out on anyone, my apologies. Thank you. Hopefully you will have 2 days of very insightful conversations. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Professor Anandakuttan, the Dean of Academics at IIMK, firstly for expressing your gratitude to everyone associated with this conference and to our delegates. And secondly, it was truly fascinating to see your fascination as an academician regarding the cooperatives and the cooperative movement. And as you rightly said, this conference has to be physical because it is not only about networking and exchanging business cards, it's about learning and growing together. So with that, ladies and gentlemen, we come to the end of the inauguration of the 18th ICA Asia Pacific Research Conference. We hope that the very integral, very relevant questions raised by Dr. Thomas Isaac will be addressed in the coming days during this conference. We hope that the beautiful philosophy that Professor Debashish Chatterjee shared, Satyam, Nityam, Purnam, will trickle down into the conversations that happen during these panel discussions. And we all understand that as we move on, transition into the next industrial revolution from 4.0 to 5.0, it is not about technology, as both Professor Debashish and Dr. Thomas Isaac was saying. It is how we use that technology. It is about human-centeredness, it is about sustainability, and it is about environmental consciousness, and we hope that the conversations will be on that level. And with that, we come to the end of the inaugural ceremony, and we'll be having a short tea break. I think Sanchari will be briefing you on what will be happening after that, and we do have one more itinerary in our agenda. Sanchari, over to you.
Thank you, Anita. With that, we officially declare the 18th ICA Asia Pacific Conference open. We hope you will make the most of this opportunity to network, learn, and also exchange ideas. Let us now proceed with the next session, which starts after a short tea break. Tea and refreshments have been arranged in MDC 3rd floor. Thank you once again for joining us, and we look forward to an enlightening and productive conference. All are kindly requested to rise for the national anthem.
जनगण मन अधिनायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता पंजाब सिंध गुजरात मराठा द्राविड़ उत्कल गंगा विंध्य हिमाचल यमुना गंगा उज्जल जलधि तरंगा तव शुभ नामे जागे तव शुभ आशीष मांगे गाहे तव जय गाथा जन गण मंगलदायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता जय हे जय हे जय हे जय 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 हे